expired. The chair recognizes the gentleman from New York for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Morning.
I've got a series of a number of questions on different topics that I want to ask, but before I get there, my concern is, as we look at this and we talk about we're in deficit, so we've got to fix it, and it seems to me that we talk about cutting, but we've got to make sure that everybody feels some of the pain. And as we're dealing with the current CR, et cetera, of course, because of some of the deals that we've made prior, the only way we're talking about balancing this budget right now is on the cutting side. And generally, you also have cutting and you have revenue. And some kind of way, when you have both, it eliminates the deficit because you're cutting and you've got more money coming in also. And then that kind of levels out the playing field to a degree also, so that everybody feels some pain. And if we're going to create a situation where all Americans feel better about the current situation, it seems to me that everybody's got to feel some pain. And part of the problem that we have here is some people are feeling pain, and others will say, as in my city of New York, they see others getting huge bonuses, and yet nobody's lending money, but somebody else is making money. And we're really not having the kind of balance that is needed so that there's pain felt on all the sides so that we can move and then have the kind of agreements that we need to have so that we can move forward. We still have individuals who are losing their homes. And it's hard to talk to those individuals about them losing more when they've lost everything they've already had. And then it appears to them that others on the other side are not losing anything. In fact, they're back to where they were. They're making more money than they ever made. And that then causes the schisms even in politics and causes politics to take place so that we're not doing what we should be doing for the benefit of our country as a whole. Because we're one side or the other side, and I'm not trying to be the left or the right, and we're not pulling this thing together so that we could have something, that's down the middle that makes us forward. Which brings me to my first question to you, because I want to get something clarified. I guess this was yesterday in your statement on the impact of the CR, for example, on the economy. And I was wondering whether or not it was based on your in-depth analysis of the specific cuts to various programs, when I talk, because there's a discrepancy. Goldman Sachs came out with an opinion of what it would do to the growth of the economy, and you said it would be less than what much Goldman. And so I was just wondering, what was your statement based upon? How did you arrive at that decision?
It was based on a rough and ready econometric analysis using models, of course. But based on a total dollar amount of $60 billion this year and $40 billion next year, without any real attention to the composition of that. So we didn't really get into the breakdown.
So it wasn't right. You didn't get into the breakdown of look at this program, anything of that nature, those effects, which is what I kind of figured. Well, let me ask another question. Let me just go off on something that I think that. Hopefully we can work in a bipartisan manner in this committee to deal with, and a statement that you made also recently, and that's dealing with interchange. And 2 weeks ago, you told the Senate Banking Committee that you thought that the smaller issue exemption for interchange fee regulation may not in fact work. I believe that's what you stated. So my question is, what will the impact on community banks and credit unions be if that exemption fails?
So we don't know whether it will work or not, as I said. If it doesn't work, and if the reduction in interchange fees, in fact, ends up applying or partially applying to smaller banks and credit unions, then obviously it'll cut their earnings from that program, unless they can recoup it through other fees or charges to their depositors.
So, and your opinion in this area becomes very critical, because this is something that I think that we can work on, because, going back and forth and in dealing with the Fed's recent rulings with regards to interchange and whether they're looking at cost or not looking at cost as it pertains to some of the banks, and you look at the merchant side, so we really need a balance there also. And I think that as we move forward on this committee, and we're having some dialogue, I hope across the aisles, we can work together to try to solve that problem. Oh, I'm out of time already. Okay.
Time of the gentleman has expired. The chair recognizes